Hangout with Robb and Linda. Really, really glad that you're here today, and we've got so many things to talk about. Thanks so much for logging on. Thanks for taking a look at this, our YouTube channel here. And before I even start, I want you to follow us at Robb Thompson and at Linda Thompson 74. So we're really looking forward to linking up and connecting with you. So thanks for doing so. Today, we want to talk about the Iowa caucus.
Yes.
Yesterday, it was really, really something. Boy, it was a nail biter actually on both sides, and whether you be a Republican or a Democrat, it was really kind of an interesting thing. But one of the things that we really saw about this was the importance of voting in a primary, no matter who you are.
Or a caucus, depending on what your state does. But yeah, the importance of it, lots of times people think, well, I only have to vote for the big thing, when the presidential election. But actually, if you vote in the primary, then you really do have a say about who runs for the presidential election. Because what happens is so many votes get to send delegates to the Republican or the Democratic National Convention, and those delegates are the ones that actually vote on who's going to run for office in November.
So there are
that's
27.
Why it's really important.
There are 27 Republican delegates that actually go to their state convention, and then they're given out from there. But there are 27 delegates, and let me just tell you.
There's more than 27 delegates.
Well, actually, what was distributed yesterday were 27 delegates.
Oh, for just Iowa.
For Iowa, for Iowa. That's what we're talking about, the Iowa caucus.
No, I understood that, but when you said that, I thought you meant that there were only 27.
Your brilliance is only overshadowed by your beauty. Here, let's talk about those 27 delegates.
Okay,
Why don't you read those things that you have right there? Here, folks, here's the 27 delegates from Sister
Cruz
Brilliant.
Got 8 delegates. Donald Trump got 7. Marco Rubio got 7. Ben Carson got 3. And Rand Paul and Jeb Bush each got 1. And the rest of the Republicans that ran didn't get any. And then
except for a big goose egg.
Yeah.
That's what they got.
And then with the Democrats, Mrs. Clinton got 22, and Senator Sanders got 21 delegates.
That's pretty interesting how they decided
that they did that when he's down like 1/10 of a percent of the vote. So they both got, one got 49.9 and the other got 49.8% of the vote. So
boy, that's pretty interesting that
really
that they could be that close and only and still have one delegate that was different. But it went down all the way up until almost approximately 11 o'clock last night before we really knew what was going to happen on the Democratic side. But think about it, even on the Republican side. If you really wanted to go and caucus for someone, now let me tell you what a caucus is so you understand. At least this is my understanding of it. I could be a little bit wrong.
Which is different than a primary, the way that we do it here in Illinois.
Primaries are private. And so you go into a booth, a voting booth, they ask you if you're Republican or Democrat. You go into that voting booth, and then you, with your Republican or Democrat ballot, you then vote for the person who you believe to be the candidate of your choice. When you caucus, you go into a place, whether it be a school, lunchroom, a library, a person's living room or a basement.
Gathering areas.
You go there and you declare who it is that you believe to be your delegate of choice. When you do, what happens is that for 2 hours, you're able to talk to people about why your choice for a delegate is the right one, and they're able to talk to you about the reason why that they believe that their choice for the nominating a particular delegate is the right way to go. And so for 2 hours, the discussion goes back and forth, and finally then they all come together and they vote for the individual in that particular primary.
That they
So
choose.
then they choose. Then they actually count up the votes, and it goes from there. And so that's how you handle a particular the difference in between a primary and a caucus. But let's talk for just a second about the differences between the candidates. You have really three candidates on one side. You have Ted Cruz, you have Marco Rubio, and you have Donald Trump. Those are the three highest people. They go from Ted Cruz to Donald Trump to Marco Rubio. And there are differences between them. These differences are differences that you need to take a look at. Ted Cruz has talked about being a very ultra-conservative and really kind of the Tea Party favorite. Donald Trump would be called a populist. And he, as a populist candidate who is campaigning on the Republican ticket, that populist candidate is a candidate who actually heralds or celebrates the popular things, or the things that are what we're talking about right now, the things that are trending, what's important to people at this moment. Immigration, healthcare, taxes, the economy, jobs. Those things are things that would be a populist's platform. You have Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, he once again is part of the Tea Party, but not quite as conservative as people such as Ted Cruz. He has an ability to be able to be more fluid and more flexible in the kinds of things that he believes. Some people believe that to be positive, and others believe it to be negative. On the Democratic side, we have Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State, and we have Bernie Sanders, who is truly an independent, although caucuses with the Democrats, senator from the state of Vermont. And those differences in many ways are the same, but also they're very stark in their differences. Mrs. Clinton, we all know her past. We know what's been important to her. We know the escapades of her husband. We know that she's been involved. She's been a senator from New York. She's also been the Secretary of State, and right now is at a place where she could be indicted for actually having top secret and above top secret emails on a private server. Bernie Sanders, being the independent from Vermont, is really called the socialist senator from Vermont. Socialism, where people become equal and everything is social in its nature. And so you have to decide where you as an individual fit in. Does this person actually embody my beliefs? Those things are the things that are important. And so yesterday was Iowa. We then have New Hampshire that's coming right up in just a couple of days.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So in several
1
days,
week.
that's coming up. And the candidates are already in New Hampshire, and they're already getting to work. But one thing that's important that I want to make sure that I bring up, that the reason why that things worked out the way that they did for Senator Cruz, who was not expected to do as well as he did in Iowa, was because he had a very, very strong follow-up, had a very strong connection, a great communication platform. He actually had a super ground game. And so that'll tell you about success in your life just as well, being able to build your teams and do all of that other stuff. Once you have that ground game, you can then make progress. And he proved to us that he was able to make progress through that ground game which he had. Now, what
Yeah,
else
and
is
you know
going
what?
on?
That also goes along with having follow-up even in your own life.
That's
The
exactly
things-
right.
You set out to do something and you just have to keep going back and seeing what you were going to plan on doing and seeing if you're on course.
Now, okay, what are a couple of things that people need to know, or what's important for people who are conservative individuals, or what's important for us as a nation when people go into the voting booth? What are a couple of things that are important to them?
Well, for me, it's just making sure that the candidate has some Bible, they base their decisions based on Bible.
They're principled. They're principled people.
Right, on the Bible.
Sure.
So, you know, what.
They're not driven by culture. They're driven by principle.
That's right. And so as long as what they stand for corresponds with what the Bible has to say, then that's a good thing.
And my wife is an awesome Bible girl.
That's right.
And so
And let me just say this. I know in Illinois.
and what are those three
wait,
things? What are a few
for
things?
me, the top three things are what do they believe about Israel? You know, if they're going to be a friend to Israel, because the Bible says that if you bless Israel,
Told you she was a
Jerusalem,
Bible girl.
if you bless Jerusalem, that you'll be blessed. And then what do they believe concerning marriage? Because God created it to be a man and a woman together. And then I forget what the other thing is now.
The sanctity of life.
The sanctity of, how can I forget that? Pro-life, because God created life. So those are my three main things that I look for in a candidate is do they agree with the Bible concerning those three things?
That's great.
Right?
That's true. And you have to have the kind of principles that you stand for just as well.
That's right.
What are the things that are important to you? And don't think about life from the perspective of where you are today. Think about where you want yourself and your family to go in years or decades to come. Now, what's today?
Today was Ground Hog Day. And
National Ground Hog Day.
They got the Ground Hog out in Pennsylvania there.
Punxsutawney Phil.
Yes. He didn't see his shadow. And so spring is supposed to be on its way. I'm sure you're really happy about all those people that are getting lots of snow today and got lots of snow last week. We're thankful because here in the Chicagoland area, we haven't got any.
Feet. Yeah,
That's
we don't
right.
get snow. We don't get snow anymore. We gave it up.
For Lent. Yeah, sure, because that starts next Wednesday.
I gave it up for whatever. So tell me, what did you do last week that was real favorite for you?
For me, we got to go and be a part of our grandson's first day of kindergarten, celebrate him.
So then you are happy that they
fun.
moved back to the States.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have gotten to do that. That was a great thing. And he was blessed. After school, he got in the car and he said, I made 3 friends and I played soccer. What more could you ask for?
That's right. That's what school's all about, isn't it?
Right.
It's the truth.
Yeah. And then yesterday he called us and told us some Spanish words that he learned in class.
He learned 4 Spanish words, folks, in one day. Send your kids to private school. That's the thing they'll learn 4 Spanish words in one day. And so I want to thank you for actually coming on to our Google Hangout, just spending time with Robb and Linda.
And you know what? Let me just say this real fast. If you haven't registered to vote and your primary isn't for another month, go register now so that you can vote in the primary.
Yeah. I mean, some people vote without any kind of things in the primary, but you don't. You're the one who actually does things the way that they need to be done. And so I want you to subscribe to our podcast and subscribe to our Google Hangout. And then actually follow us. And that's at Robb Thompson and at Linda Thompson 74. And so until next time that we get to talk to you on our Hangout.
See you.
Hang out and let's do the right things. See you then.